Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Dragonheir Selling Cards video. In today's video, I'm going to show you my team for Ancient Battlefield Stage 12, and honestly, it's using 3 free legendaries, right? It's a pretty fun team, it's a pretty interesting team, and you know, most of you should be able to do it if you're doing your summons at the right time, but I guess let's just get into this one. As always, before I jump into the video, I do want to mention if you want to support me as your favorite content creator, you can use code OddOne that you see appear at the top. So if you use that code, you get some free rewards instantly. You can bind pretty much by going to the events tab, and then at the bottom behind me where I'm hiding it, you see over there, you see bonus event, right? You select that one, and then once you select that one, you're going to see you have linked to content creators, right? You do this, log into your account, put code OddOne with capital O's, make sure you do that. And then, like I said, you're gonna get those rewards instantly. Pretty much what that does is, if you do decide to spend in the game, which I never encourage people to spend, even though it's, you know, the game's pretty generous for what you spend on, but if you do decide to spend, I get like 2% off of whatever you spend on. Now, let's jump into this team, and honestly, the way that I did this team is, I listened, right? I listened because I've seen so many times people putting comments and telling me, I don't have Velocia, what do I do? I don't have Ardreth yet, what do I do? Because, you know, most of us already have Ardreth that have played before, but there's a lot of you that don't have Ardreth, which is, you know, the legendary hero that we get this season, same way as we got Uteor last season. So I said, you know what, let me just straight out answer your question and do it from the beginning. So the 3 free legendaries, like I mentioned, are going to be Urion, which everybody gets, Gillian, everybody gets Gillian as well, and then Vinyara. Vinyara is kind of like the MVP of this fight because of the way that she does her, you know, skills, because of her passive. She's kind of like the queen of this because her passive makes her be immune to the stun, right? The boss does the stun. You don't even need to give her resistance. In case you did not know, because of this passive, as long as you put her at the back, right, furthest one, it can be here or here, whatever, just have to be the one that's furthest back, she's not going to get stunned, which means you're not going to need that resistance in order to do it. So you have those 3 legendaries, and then we have Sheena and Beldel as damage dealers. It's, you know, pretty straightforward. 3 of the free supports that, honestly, I'm still shocked that they gave us these really good supports, but it's those 3 supports that are in the team, and then obviously the damage dealers. I'm using Beldel and Sheena. Now, what did I mean by, you know, this is a case of this team is free-to-play friendly when it comes to heroes because you just need the luck to pull them, or you just need to save, right? Pretty much, you need to save your summons so that you pull on the selector banners, same way that I did, to get yourself Beldel, which is what I recommended in the season. This season, I kind of made a video a short before. Maybe I'm going to make a dedicated video on this one, but in this season, Radiance plus Ice is the meta, right? They're so good for everything, even for, you know what, even for Vortex, they're almost, you know, at the moment, I think they might even be a little bit better than Wild, but as you progress through the season, actually Wild might become the better option, right? Again, Wild's gonna be king. However, up until then, you see this team of Ice Blast. I've used it in Rot, I've used it here, I've used it in, I think I can even use it in, I think I actually did. I used it in Heretical Ruins, so Ice Blast is kind of the way to go. And also, like I said, the reality is, the good reason for that is 3 of the legendaries that you get are free, right? That's part of the pairing. We got Vinyara and Urion in the first season, and then we got Gillian, plus you also get Alpha Narsi, but we don't need them in this season, right? For at least for this fight. And look at this, 1 minute and 25 seconds, right? There's 3 heroes. Everybody, like I mentioned, gets, you know, these 3 heroes at least, and then these 2, you just pull on that banner, and you're bound to pull at least one Sheena, right? If not, if you don't have Sheena, just use Zorak instead. You might just take you a little bit more to kill it, and you might just need to swap maybe the artifacts so you have Witch's Remains on Vinyara. But let's look at the timings, because timings are extremely important, right? They're really, really important because you want to make sure you do the buffs and the debuffs at the right time so that you don't get, you know, you don't get too much damage from the boss. So let's check this one out. When it comes to the Ice Blast, you put them every 18 seconds because you're gonna have Puppeteer on Vinyara, but then you make Sheena go at 12 and then Beldel at 13, because obviously she needs a bit of time before Sheena lands the defense penalty, just to make sure that when Beldel does her damage, there's defense penalty already out there. Okay, then the next one's going to be Vinyara. The reason I put Vinyara at 15 is because you need to remove the increased attack, but then at the same time, you want to make sure that the decreased attack that the boss has is still there when he does the ultimate. So even though the boss puts the increased attack at 9 seconds, you want to make sure that Vinyara does this just before, after the third skill, just before the ultimate one, because she also lands frozen on that one, which means the boss is going to recharge the speed, the ultimate energy a little bit slower, which means the boss could drop the decreased attack down before he does the ult. It's really important. And then every 21 seconds, because of the fact that, like I mentioned, she lands frozen on this ultimate, plus when she gets hit, if she, backfires on the boss and puts the frozen as well from the passive, then, the boss is just going to be not an 18-second rotation, but I think it's between 20.5 and 21, but I put it on 21 and it worked just fine, right? So 50 and 21. And then Gillian, same principle. I made Gillian go at 21 because I want her to go after the boss does the ultimate, because I don't want to put the defense up before he does it, because when the boss does the last skill, right, the ultimate, it removes all the boss from your team and gains damage. So we survive the hit, as you notice. We do survive the hit, and then you want Gillian to do, the healing and the defense up, so we survive the AoE slams and it works just fine. And then you see again her at 21 seconds. And then when it comes to Yurion, honestly, I just let them full YOLO, right? Yurion just went full YOLO and then we are good to go. Now let's have a look at the builds and at the talents. So Yurion just went straight up on the middle. Gillian, same principle in the middle. Then Vinyara, I didn't even finish it, but you pretty much can see the way that I went with her skills. Then we have a Beldel. Beldel's a little bit of a quirky one. I'm not sure if this is the best one, but based on what I tested and what I've seen, this is the talents that work for her. This is what I use in Vortex. And then Sheena, these are her talents. Now, let's have a look at the builds. We'll start off with Gillian. She is running Brotherhood Spirit so that she can boost a little bit of her damage when she does her ultimate, mostly focused on Enlightenment. And then I gave her Solar King's Horn. You don't necessarily need Solar King's Horn. You can give her whatever artifact you have available. If you have the Titan Rib, though, don't use it, right? Because the Titan Rib's not going to do anything on her because there's no debuffs being landed. So the only one that could boost on damage is Solar King, or, you can use anything else that you want. This mythic piece of gear doesn't really matter. I just put it because it's a defense percent that I got that, you don't get crit, so it doesn't really matter. Then if we look at Yurion, he's going to be in the Ancestral Protection, obviously focused on survivability, right? As much HP and defense as possible. I also gave him Mona Lisa's Teardrop, even though you don't really need it, right? He doesn't really die, but just to be safe, I gave him one of these. Then again, you see more HP, more defense. I even gave him Resist on this one. Again, doesn't really matter. You can go with HP or defense, whatever you have to keep him alive. Like, HP and defense would be better, but he survived just fine. And then for the artifact, I gave him Drago's Blast Jar. However, again, you don't need Drago's Blast Jar. You can just give him the Scarab Amulet, you can give him Mask of the Lark, whichever other artifact you have built for, these defenders, for your supports, for your tanks. Then if you move over at Vinyara, she's running the Rift Hourglass, even though you don't really need the Rift Hourglass. I just gave her that because that's the other artifact that I've leveled up that gives me accuracy. But you know what, I could even throw the Lotus Grace because I don't care about this extra skill haste over here. I only care about the accuracy. And why am I saying that? Well, because she is gonna be going on a 21 rotation for the ultimate anyway. It's already on 17.7 second recharge time, so you don't really care about that, so definitely keep that in mind. Then, like I mentioned, I gave her the the Puppeteer's Inspiration, so that we can get all of our Frost people on 18-second rotation, which is gonna be Vinyara, Yurion, and then 2 Ice Blast people, so this is gonna help. And then again, Mona Lisa's Teardrop just in case, but again, we didn't need it. You saw we survived just fine. Then we have over here HP and then accuracy over here to obviously get get to 300 accuracy with a 50 from the elemental affinity to be able to land our debuffs. Then if you look at Beldel, she's mostly with as much crit rate, then attack and crit damage as possible. Attack percent on this one, crit rate. It's kind of interesting for her. You're better off giving Beldel more crit rate and more crit damage because of the way that her passive works. As if you have 3 stacks of ice crystal, then it converts 300% crit rate into crit damage. So, all in all, it's kind of like better. Plus, you know what? You guarantee to crit by having max crit rate always. Then I also gave her Blood Shade Mark for the weapon and then helmet is a Fearless challenge. Then I'm using her exclusive, not her exclusive, but the Ice Blast artifact, but you don't need it. Again, if you don't have it, you don't need it. You can just straight ahead go with Silver Star Horseshoe or any other artifact that gives you more crit damage, more crit rate, more, you know, anything that helps. Honestly, anything that helps. You can even go with this one, right? Even though you don't get a benefit of this, you get more crit rate, but in the end you choose whichever one you think works best for you or whichever you have as your best artifact. Now if we're gonna look at the last one, it's going to be Sheena. She's obviously gonna be running the Witch's Remains in this team with enough accuracy to land her debuffs and then try to give her some damage. I gave her, you know, this is the one that I had with more crit rate, then I gave her a crit damage glove in the Strike the Unprepared. I mean, normally you would go with the crit rate one to get close to 100%. I just had this build from my Temporal Vortex, I just left it that way. Then I do have Chaos Symbiosis, which I would prefer to be Bloodshade Mark if I had it right for her, but I don't. And then another Fearless challenge with obviously crit damage and then accuracy over here, so she has enough accuracy like I mentioned. But that pretty much is it, right? That's pretty much the team. Ancient Battlefield, Stage 12, done. It was, honestly, it was a lot easier than I expected, and the reason for that is Ice Blast is so good, right? Ice Blast as a damage school in Season 2 is so good that it just made this the extremely easy. But we're gonna leave it at this for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking it, subscribing to the channel to see when I upload next. Again, don't forget to support me using code OddOne that you see at the top, and I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care everyone. Bye guys.